Logan Pierce, a reclusive operative hiding out in the Mexican desert, is ambushed by mercenaries from a shadow organization, forcing him back into the game when he uncovers a plot to steal the Shadow Core, a global hacking device, at a conference in New York. He recruits his old team: Ava Lang, tech specialist, Caleb Ford, sniper, and Dylan Hayes, driver, but harbors suspicions about his old CIA source. The initial desert raid reveals a mole, pulling Logan into a vortex of personal revenge tied to the past loss of his family. The world exploded in a hellstorm of sand and dust as the bomb detonated, tearing the old pickup truck apart in the scorching Mexican desert. Logan Pierce rolled to avoid the razor-sharp shrapnel, his hand gripping a worn-out pistol, blood from a deep gash on his arm dripping onto the blazing hot sand. For the past 3 years, he'd lived like a ghost in the small town of El Diablo, fixing cars for the locals, staying far away from the blood-soaked memories of the CIA. But now, the past had come calling with a reaper's scythe. Gunshots rang out as 2 mercenaries burst from behind a large boulder, their eyes bloodshot under dirty baseball caps. Their AKs pointed straight at him. Logan didn't hesitate. His operative instincts flared to life. The nearest man threw a heavy, street boxing punch, the desert wind whipping around his brutal fist. Logan dodged left, his body moving with the fluid grace of years of Krav Maga training, then countered with a chain of Wing Chun strikes too short, hammer-like blows to the opponent's chest that sent him staggering back. Wheezing for air, the second man raised his rifle, but Logan was already on him, driving a sharp Muay Thai elbow into his wrist, sending the AK clattering to the sand. The man snarled, drawing a serrated combat knife and lunging. Logan pivoted, using Aikido to grip his enemy's wrist, twisting the joint with a dry, sickening crack, then swept his legs with a low, silent kick, sending him sprawling as sand erupted like a miniature storm. In seconds, 2 bodies lay still under the harsh sun. Logan gasped for breath, heart pounding, but his eyes were as cold as steel. They knew he was here, which meant he'd been sold out. He ran back to the roadside bar, where the terrified villagers were huddled behind the rotten wooden door. A trembling old man, holding his grandson. He looked at Logan with a mixture of gratitude and fear. He had saved the village from drug traffickers 2 years ago, taking down 3 men with a combat knife in the dark. But now, Logan had to leave. A phone vibrated in the pocket of his worn leather jacket. A text from an unknown number. Watch the news. New York. Now, he pushed through the door and turned on the dust-covered TV hanging on the wall. The screen flickered, showing a chaotic scene at the International Security Conference in New York. A tall man, his face a roadmap of scars from old wars, stormed through a crowd of elite bodyguards. He moved like a ghost. His first punch, a Russian Systema strike that caught 1 man on the jaw, dropping him before he could even cry out. Another guard raised his pistol, but the man spun. A perfect Taekwondo roundhouse kick, sending the Beretta flying, combining Judo and Jeet Kune Do. He seized a weapon and fired 3 precise shots. Knee, shoulder, neck, sending the crowd scattering in panic as the conference leaders vanished in the smoke. In less than 45 seconds, all the guards were scattered like fallen leaves. He stole a small, sleek black sphere, the Shadow Core, and escaped with 2 other figures through a shattered glass window. The news identified him as Reed Voss, a Russian-American mafia boss, wanted by the CIA for arms trafficking. Logan clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white, the veins on his wrist standing out. The Shadow Core was no toy. He knew it well from his Ghost Rider days at the CIA, a high-tech device that could hack global satellites and turn them into weapons of chaos, crashing the New York Stock Exchange, blackmailing governments, even starting a cyber war. In Raid's hands, it would be a catastrophe not just for the U.S., but for the entire world. Logan remembered the past. That year, in the freezing cold of Siberia, he had failed a mission. Letting his younger sister die in an explosion the CIA covered up. Reed Voss, once an Allied operative, now an enemy, was probably seeking revenge against him. He couldn't stand by. He stood up and left the bar, his gaze as steady as a blade's edge. The quiet life was over. From the garage behind the bar, he took his old Harley motorcycle, checking his pack, a double-edged dagger, a Glock 19, and an encrypted comms device. Before leaving, he helped the old man clear some bomb debris, offering a slight smile. "Stay alive, my friend. Life's full of surprises." On the dusty highway to Mexico City, Logan gunned the engine, the desert wind whipping his face like a leather strap. He remembered snowy nights in Russia, skiing to escape mercenaries. Every step a gamble between life and death. Now, the past was calling him back with the sound of gunfire. At a grimy bar on the outskirts of Mexico City, under the flickering neon lights, he met Victor Kane, his old CIA source, dressed in a rumpled grey suit, his eyes red from alcohol. Victor slid a thick file across the beer-sticky wooden table. "Reed's working for a bigger shadow organization. Logan, we need you. You're the only one who can stop him." Logan flipped through the file, seeing a photo of Reed, a tall man with blue eyes as sharp as Siberian ice. Once a training partner, now an international criminal, Victor explained. The Shadow Corps could trigger a global economic crisis, crashing Wall Street in a matter of hours. Logan nodded. "But on one condition. I pick my own team. No CIA strings." Victor gave a forced smile, his eyes darting away. Logan didn't trust him completely. Victor had covered up the incident with his sister, but time was running out. He called 3 ghosts from his past. Ava Lang, a hacker from Silicon Valley, Caleb Ford, a cold-blooded sniper from Texas, and Dylan Hayes, a master driver from Detroit. They were once the Phantom Squad, living outside the law, unafraid of death. Logan flew to a secret warehouse in Queens, New York, where the team gathered under the pale yellow fluorescent lights. Ava, her short black hair tied back, opened a laptop to hack the conference's security cameras. Reed's trail leads to the Sonoran Desert, Mexico. He's got an underground base. Caleb checked his Barrett rifle, his eyes narrowing like a hawk's. Dylan polished a sleek black SUV, grinning. "Desert roads? I like a challenge." Logan stood in the middle, his voice as low as distant thunder. "We're not doing this for the CIA. We're doing this for justice and for what we've lost." Suddenly, the warehouse door burst open, and 6 mercenaries stormed in, their MP5s aimed straight at them. Logan reacted instantly, lunging at the first man. He threw a heavy boxing punch, but Logan dodged, unleashing a perfect capoeira kick that arced through the air and struck the man's throat, making him fall, choking on his own blood. The second man drew a knife. Logan locked his arm in a jiu-jitsu hold, snapped the joint, and threw him over a metal crate with a loud clang. The team moved in perfect sync. Ava tasered 1 man. Caleb took down 2 with sniper shots through a crack in the door, and Dylan threw a smoke grenade, creating a thick grey fog. The fight lasted less than a minute, leaving bodies strewn across the blood-stained concrete floor. Logan looked at his team and nodded. They knew we were gathering. "There's a mole somewhere." His eyes swept over each of them, Ava focused on her laptop, Caleb wiping his gun, Dylan smiling confidently. Who was the traitor? Logan's heart grew heavy, but he knew one thing. The Sonoran Desert was waiting, and Reed Voss was smiling in the dark. Which area are you listening to this story from? And what time is it where you are right now? Leave a comment below so I know you are still healthy and fully focused on this story. My dear friend, we will continue right after this. After the explosion in the Mexican desert, Logan's team hunts down the underground lair of Reed Voss, a Russian-American mafia boss beneath the scorching hot sand. Engaging in hand-to-hand combat that blends various street fighting styles, Ava successfully hacks the data, revealing the Shadow Core could collapse the U.S. economy. But a booby trap leaves Dylan slightly injured, fueling suspicion of a mole within the team. Logan decides they must fly to New York immediately, where Reed is preparing to activate the device. The fluorescent lights in the Queen's warehouse flickered like a chaotic heartbeat, illuminating the bloody pools on the concrete floor. Logan Pierce knelt beside the last mercenary's body. Quickly checking his pockets, a burner phone vibrated softly, its screen displaying an encrypted message. Phantoms assembled. Eliminate. His chest tightened, fury rising like acid in his gut. The mole didn't just know his location, they were tracking his every move. He looked up, his gaze sweeping over his comrades. Ava Lang typed on her laptop with pale fingers. Caleb Ford wiped blood from his combat knife, and Dylan Hayes leaned against a wall, a smirk on his face as he clutched a scratch on his shoulder. We have eyes in the shadows, Logan said, his voice as deep as desert thunder. But now is not the time to doubt each other. Sonora is waiting. 48 hours until Reed activates the Shadow Core. The air in the warehouse was heavy, the smell of gunpowder and smoke grenades still thick. Dylan shrugged, his voice hoarse. I'll get the SUV to the private airfield. The jet's waiting. Caleb nodded, loading his Remington 700 with cold, mechanical precision. Ava closed her laptop, her eyes glinting behind her glasses. I've hacked the exact coordinates. The lair is under the sand. Its secret entrance 20 kilometers from the border. Security is tight infrared cameras. Rotating patrols. Logan stood up, tightening the double-edged dagger strapped to his belt. He remembered the moment his sister died in Siberia all those years ago, an explosion covered up by the CIA, leaving him with a wound that never healed. Reed Voss, once his training partner, was now using the Shadow Core to get revenge on the system that had destroyed his own family. Was Logan any different from him? Or were they both just victims of the darkness? They tore out into the New York night, the black SUV roaring down the I-95, the city's neon lights blurring past like meteor trails. Dylan drove like a demon, weaving through traffic, the wind from the Hudson River whipping through the cracked open window. Logan sat in the back, studying a 3D map on Ava's tablet. Reed's lair was a labyrinth beneath the Sonoran sand, built during the drug trafficking era. Now a black tech stronghold. Assignments, he ordered. Ava, hack the locks and cameras. Caleb, sniper cover from the sand dune 500 meters up. Dylan, you're on standby with the off-road vehicle for exfil. I'm leading the breach. Caleb cut in, his Texas drawl dry. If the mole is one of us, what's the play? Boss? Logan met his gaze in the rearview mirror, his eyes sharp. We deal with it later. For now, we survive. Ava whispered, as if to herself. God teaches that in the darkness, trust is the only torch we have. I hope we don't let it burn out. The private jet landed at dawn at an abandoned airfield near the Mexican border, the sun dyeing the golden sand a hellish red. The team switched to 2 armored Jeep Wranglers, their studded tires rolling over the rugged terrain, kicking up a thick cloud of dust behind them like a comet's tail. Logan sat in the front seat, his eyes scanning the flat horizon where the Sonoran desert stretched endlessly, the golden sand shimmering under the sun, dotted with thorny cacti, and the hot wind lashing like a leather whip. Dylan accelerated, The engines roar, drowning out the crackling radio transmission from Ava. Infrared cameras have spotted 12 guards. The stronghold is 5 kilometers away. Caleb was in the rear vehicle, attaching a scope to his rifle. The desert wind tousling his hair. Logan felt the tension tighten like a guitar string, one mistake, and Shadow Corps would turn Wall Street to ash. They stopped behind a large sand dune, concealing themselves under a desert-colored camouflage tarp. Ava plugged a small drone into her laptop, the screen displaying a grainy image, a thick steel blast door hidden beneath a layer of fake sand. A 360-degree camera scanning the area, and mercenaries patrolling with M4S and night vision goggles. Electronic lock, Ava whispered, sweat beading on her forehead, despite the early hour. I can hack it in 45 seconds, but if the alarm goes off... Logan nodded. I'll handle the rest. He crawled across the scorching sand, his body low to the ground, dagger at the ready. Caleb climbed a nearby dune and lay prone, sighting through his scope, a perfect vantage point. Dylan waited in the vehicle, the engine idling. Suddenly, the sand vibrated slightly. A silent alarm had been triggered. We're made, Ava yelled through the comms. The blast door flew open, and 8 mercenaries charged out like demons from hell, their guns spitting bullets that kicked up clouds of sand. Logan sprang up, lunging at the nearest man. The merc threw a crude boxing punch, his fist whistling through the desert air. Logan dodged, countering with Jeet Kundo, a short, sharp punch to the throat, followed by a taekwondo roundhouse kick to the knee that made him buckle. The second man drew a knife, charging with a street-style wushu move. The blade glinting in the sun, Logan pivoted, using judo to grab his wrist and twist it backward with a crack of bone. Then delivered a sharp Muay Thai elbow to the chin. The man fell backward, sending sand flying. The movements were lightning fast. Logan felt the adrenaline surge, but bullets whizzing past his ear were a constant reminder of how close death was. Caleb fired from the dune. A 338 Lapua round piercing one man's head, clearing a path. Dylan floored the jeep, charging across the sand, studded tires gripping as he dodged a hail of bullets to get Ava closer to the door. She hacked the lock, and the steel door screeched open with a grating shriek of metal. Inside, the corridor was pitch black, lit only by flashing red lights like hell's own veins. The air thick with the smell of machine oil and sweat. Logan took the lead, moving stealthily. But another group of soldiers swarmed from a blind corner, 6 of them, faces hidden by masks, pistols aimed. He charged the leader, who used Russian Sambo in an attempt to wrestle him down onto the sand and concrete floor. Logan countered with Krav Maga, striking a weak point below the ribs. Then used a low sillet leg sweep. The man fell, and Logan pinned him with a Brazilian jiu-jitsu chokehold until he passed out. Ava took one down with a taser. Caleb provided cover fire through the doorway, dropping 2 more, and Dylan threw a smoke grenade, creating a thick, yellow fog. They found the data room a cold space with servers blinking blue, thick cables running like veins. Ava plugged in a USB, hastily downloading the data. The main Shadow Corps is in Siberia, but Reed's using it to hack satellites and crash the days. Stock market, extorting trillions. Logan clenched his fist. But a small explosion shook the room a trap. Black smoke spread as Dylan yelled, "Fall back!" They raced down the corridor, pursued by mercenaries on ATVs. Dylan floored the jeep, sending it flying across the sand, while Logan leaped onto the hood to face the enemy driver. The driver threw a high kickboxing kick. Logan dodged, countered with a pencak silat punch to the gut. He then landed a capoeira heel kick to his neck. He fell, and the enemy vehicle flipped, creating chaos. The team escaped, stopping a few kilometers from the stronghold. Dylan clutched his shoulder, which was bleeding from a piece of shrapnel. "It's just a scratch," but Logan looked at him a moment longer. Suspicion flashing in his eyes. Who triggered the trap early? Ava checked the data. Raids in New York. Preparing to activate. "We have to fly now." Logan nodded, his heart heavy. "Back to the States. But the mole will show their face soon enough." Landing in a foggy New York, Logan leads the team into Central Park to intercept a meeting with Reed's henchmen, leading to a moonlit close-quarters battle with daggers and suppressed pistols. Discovering a secret communication from the CIA, Logan interrogates an old source and realizes Reed's motive for revenge stems from the CIA-orchestrated assassination of his family. The team escapes a car chase across the Brooklyn Bridge, but Logan begins to suspect Caleb because of a strange signal. The private jet tore through a layer of grey clouds, the roar of its engines drowning out the wind shrieking past the thick windows. Logan Pierce leaned his head back against the cracked leather seat, his eyes watching the Mexican desert fade into the distance under a blood-red sunset. The data Ava downloaded from the USB still haunted him. Shadow Core wasn't just a hacking weapon, it was the key to Reed Voss's revenge. A man who was once an ally, now a devil. Dylan Hayes sat beside him, bandaging his shoulder wound with a clean cloth, his voice hoarse. "That trap in Sonora was too perfect. It's like they knew we were coming." Logan glanced at him, suspicion flashing like lightning. Dylan forced a smile, but his eyes darted away. Ava Lang typed on the laptop in her lap, the blue screen reflecting her tired face. "Reed's in New York. The meet with his henchmen is in Central Park. Tonight. If we don't stop it, the activation code gets sent to Siberia." Caleb Ford was in the back row, cleaning his rifle with mechanical movements, silent as a ghost. The air in the cabin was heavy, like a steel wire tightening around their throats. Logan wondered, could the mole be sitting right here, feigning loyalty? They made an emergency landing at a private airport on the outskirts of New York. Afternoon fog shrouded the runway like a veil of secrecy, carrying the damp smell of exhaust from the city that never sleeps. Logan stepped out first, the cold winter wind whipping against his face, seeping through his worn leather jacket. According to the data, they only had 36 hours, enough time to save Wall Street, but not enough to forgive the past. They piled into a waiting black SUV. Dylan gripped the steering wheel and sped toward Manhattan, the tires screeching on the wet asphalt. Neon lights glittered on the windshield, the skyscrapers rising like steel blades piercing the clouds. Logan sat in the back, his mind reeling with memories. The last time he was here, he'd taken down a Russian assassin with a Wing Chun punch in a dark alley, his blood staining the brick walls. Now, this city was a battlefield once again. Ava opened her laptop, hacked an encrypted email from Victor Kane, our CIA source. He's been communicating with a hidden account in Russia. Shadow Core could collapse the entire U.S. financial system, extorting billions. Caleb cut in, his deep Texas drawl rough. "What does Reed want? Power or blood?" Dylan scoffed, his eyes meeting theirs in the rearview mirror. "With that guy, it's both. But if Victor is the mole, we're walking right into a trap." Logan tightened his grip on the dagger hidden in his jacket, the feeling of betrayal cutting like a deep wound in his chest. Who on the team could have sold them out? Ava was too smart. Caleb had saved his life in the desert, and Dylan was like a brother from their training days. But the suspicion still gnawed at him, like the Sonoran desert sand still clinging to his boots. They stopped at their safe house, a rundown warehouse in Brooklyn, its brick walls covered in faded graffiti, the air thick with the smell of machine oil and rust, under a flickering neon light. Ava set up a large monitor, a map of New York appearing, with a blinking red dot in Central Park. "The meet is at 2200 hours, near the lake." Reed's contact, a guy named Harlan, is handing off the activation code. Logan nodded. I'm going in alone. You guys provide backup from a distance. Caleb objected, his eyes narrowing. Too risky. Let me set up a sniper position in an old tree. But Logan shook his head. It has to be stealth. If the mole tipped them off, they'll be expecting us. He left at dusk, blending into the bustling crowds on Fifth Avenue, his jacket concealing a Glock. Central Park seemed peaceful on the surface. Yellow autumn leaves rustled underfoot. The lake shimmered under a crescent moon, but Logan could sense the danger. The chilly wind carrying the faint scent of gunpowder. He hid behind a thick bush near a jogging path, observing a secluded corner by the lake. Victor Kane appeared, his grey suit rumpled, meeting a stranger, a tall man with a heavy Russian accent that came through Logan's hidden earpiece. Reed is ready in Siberia, Victor whispered, handing over a small, black leather briefcase. Shadow Corps will bring down Wall Street in 24 hours if the ransom isn't paid. The other man nodded, his eyes flashing with greed. Logan clenched his fists, rage burning like hellfire. Victor, once his mentor, was selling out his country for money. Suddenly, 4 shadowy figures emerged from the darkness, their faces covered by masks, suppressed pistols at the ready. They surrounded the 2 men, a Russian whisper echoing, "Check the merchandise." Logan burst out like a phantom, not letting Victor escape. The first assassin spun around, throwing a straight boxing punch that whistled through the lakeside air. Logan dodged to the right, countering with a flurry of Wing Chun, a rain of rapid punches to the chest, each one connecting with the man's ribs, forcing him back until his gun clattered onto the damp grass. The second man drew a serrated dagger and charged with a street-style wushu move, the blade glinting under the moon. Logan pivoted, using judo to grab his wrist and snap the joint backward. A dry crack echoed, then launched a perfect arcing capoeira heel kick to the chin that sent him flying backward into the bushes, scattering autumn leaves. The fight erupted amidst the green grass and the shadows of old trees, the rustling of leaves mixing with grunts of pain and the soft thump-thump of suppressed gunfire. Logan took down the third man with Krav Maga, a strike to a weak point under the jaw, followed by a low silat leg sweep that slammed him face first into the mud. The last man fired wildly, bullets embedding themselves in the tree trunk near Logan's head. He rolled out of the way, lunging forward to use an Aikido lock on the man's arm, twisting the gun from his hand and sending it flying into the shimmering lake, then drove a sharp Muay Thai elbow into his throat. He choked on blood and collapsed. Blood stained the grass red, its coppery smell spreading on the night wind. Victor, panicking, tried to run toward the jogging path. Logan gave chase, vaulted a low fence, and landed in front of him on the stone pathway. Victor drew a pistol, his hand trembling. Logan, let me explain. But Logan was faster, using Brazilian jiu-jitsu to wrap up his arm, tightening the joint until the gun fell, then forcing him down onto the wet grass. Why the betrayal? Victor gasped for breath, his eyes bloodshot. Reed paid well. He lost his family in that CIA hack back in 2018. His sister died on our orders. Shadow Corps is a tool for revenge, for blackmail, to overthrow the system. Logan pressed him further. Reed is hiding in a Siberian snow fortress, preparing for full activation. Victor pleaded, "Let me go." Logan, I just want to live. But Logan bound him with a rope from his pack, whispering into his earpiece, "Caleb, keep him alive. We need the evidence." Caleb confirmed from his overwatch position. Done. But we've got tails, 3 black SUVs. The team regrouped at the extraction point by the park, the briefcase from Victor on the back seat of their SUV. Ava hacked quickly. Reed's plan: crash a satellite into New York, cause financial chaos, and force the government to its knees. Dillon accelerated onto the road, heading for the Brooklyn Bridge. But 3 enemy vehicles closed in, their glaring headlights cutting through the fog. Gunfire erupted. Bullets, spiderwebbing the cracked ballistic glass. Logan opened the rear door. Laying down cover fire with his Glock, 2 shots hit the lead vehicle's tires, sending it flipping over the bridge's guardrail, erupting in flames that cast a crimson glow over the East River. Dillon swerved expertly, dodging another car, and the team's vehicle jumped a narrow gap on the vibrating steel bridge. Caleb fired his sniper rifle from the window. Taking out the driver of the second car, it slammed into a bridge support with a thunderous crash of metal. The last vehicle pursued relentlessly as Logan leaped onto the roof of Dillon's SUV, coming face to face with the enemy driver at close range. The man leaned out, firing an AK, but Logan dodged, using Pencak Silat to deliver a low punch to his face. Followed by a taekwondo roundhouse kick to his chest, he fell, and the enemy vehicle lost control, plunging into the river, sending up a massive splash under the moonlight. The team escaped, stopping at a safe point in the Brooklyn suburbs, their ragged breaths fogging up the damp interior of the vehicle. Ava analyzed the briefcase. Reed has an anti-air system in Siberia. We have to get to Russia before dawn. Caleb nodded. I'll need a high vantage point for sniping. Dillon checked the vehicle. I'll get us across the border. But Logan paused, checking the data, a strange signal from Caleb's phone. Sent to a location in Central Park just before their meeting. He kept quiet, not wanting to tear the team apart. Get ready, he ordered. We fly to Siberia tomorrow morning. In the dark cabin, Logan checked his armor. His mind flashing back to his sister's assassination. Reed lost his sister to the CIA. He lost his to that very same system. Was justice found in blood, or in forgiveness? He tightened his grip on his knife, knowing Siberia would be hell, and the traitor would be revealed in the white snow. In a secret Brooklyn warehouse, the team analyzed the data and planned their infiltration of a Wall Street building, where Reed had hidden a decoy shadow core. Logan faced off against Riley Knox, Reed's female assassin, in a Filipino Kali duel on rain-slicked scaffolding, revealing that the true activation code was in Siberia. An explosion nearly killed the entire team, forcing them to fly to Russia immediately. With Logan struggling internally over who to trust on his team, the fluorescent lights in the Brooklyn warehouse flickered weakly, casting shifting shadows across Logan Pierce's face, like scars from a past that hadn't healed. He sat on a cold metal crate, the briefcase from Victor Kane lying open on a decaying wooden table, its papers and USB drives scattered in the dim yellow light. The New York night fog seeped in through a broken window, carrying the distant sound of sirens from the Brooklyn Bridge. Just hours ago, they had nearly died in a chase, and the strange signal from Caleb's phone still haunted Logan like a ghost. Reed's playing cat and mouse, he said, his voice a low growl, his fingers tapping a rhythm on his combat knife. The activation code isn't in Central Park. He's hidden a fake shadow core on Wall Street in an abandoned building near the stock exchange. Ava Lang nodded, her eyes glued to her laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. Confirmed. Security cameras show unusual activity around midnight. But if it's a trap, Caleb Ford interjected, cleaning his rifle with slow, deliberate movements. His Texas drawl dry. Then we bite back. I'll provide cover from the rooftop across the street. Dillon Hayes leaned against a wall, his shoulder still wrapped in white bandages, and smirked. I'll drive the armored truck. Wall Street's a mess, but I can get through. Logan looked at them, his heart heavy. His trust was as unstable as the skyscraper outside, swaying in the winter wind. Who sent the signal to Reed? Caleb, with his evasive eyes. Or was it him, With his past full of mistakes, the warehouse air was thick with the smell of bitter coffee and old cigarettes. Ava brought up a 3D map. It's an old building. 12 floors. Shattered windows. The Shadow Core is on the middle floor, but security includes 3 guards. Infrared cameras. And probably Riley Knox. The female assassin's name hung in the air like a curse, Riley Knox. Reed's most trusted operative. A specialist in assassinations using Filipino Kali. Her blades as fast as a striking viper. Logan remembered her file, a former Russian agent who lost her husband in a CIA hack. Now loyal to Reed for his promise of vengeance. I'll lead the infiltration. Logan commanded. Ava. You hack from the van. Caleb. On sniper duty. Dylan. Wait for extract. No mistakes, Wall Street is the heart of the financial world. One stray shot could cause a panic. Dylan nodded. Ready. But boss, if the mole is... Logan cut him off. His gaze sharp. We'll deal with that later. For now, we move. In the ensuing silence, Ava whispered, as if in prayer, God teaches that in times of doubt, we must find truth in the light of our own hearts. Don't let the darkness consume us. Her words echoed. Soothing some of the rage inside Logan, he nodded, gripping his knife, wondering if justice meant killing or forgiving lost souls like Riley. They plunged into the New York night. The armored truck's engine roaring down streets, slick with drizzling rain. Neon lights reflecting off the windshield like spreading bloodstains. Dylan expertly navigated the congested Manhattan traffic toward Wall Street. The financial district was silent under the fog, its skyscrapers glittering like giant sentinels guarding their secrets. Logan sat in the back, checking his Glock and light body armor. His mind racing. Reed lost his sister to the CIA. He lost his to that very same system. Would killing him bring peace? Or just more blood? They stopped 100 meters from the building, hidden in the shadows of an old oak tree on the sidewalk. Logan led the way. Entering through a rear fire escape, the dark hallway reeked of dampness and burnt wiring. Red emergency lights flickering like severed arteries. Their soft footsteps echoed as wind and rain howled through the broken windows. Suddenly, a slender figure lunged from a dark corner, Riley Knox. Her wet black hair tied in a high ponytail, her blue eyes as sharp as a Russian dagger, her lithe body clad in tight leather. She wielded 2 short Kali knives, swinging them as fast as the storm. You're late. Pierce. Logan dodged the blades as they hissed through the air, countering with Penkak Silat, a low punch to her stomach that made Riley stumble back. But she retaliated with a straight savate kick aimed at his chest. He spun, using Jeet Kune Do to land a short, sharp punch to her shoulder, then locked her in a tight Brazilian jiu-jitsu chokehold in a split second. Riley struggled, her knife grazing his arm, drawing blood. But Logan held firm. Where's Reed? Where's the real Shadow Core? She let out a derisive laugh, her voice tinged with a Russian accent. Siberia, the snow fortress. But you won't make it, the activation code has already been sent. Ava yelled through the earpiece. Confirmed, this is a fake. Riley is carrying a backup code, Logan pressed her, the knife at her throat. Why are you with him? Riley gasped for air. The CIA killed my husband. Reed promised justice. And you? You're just a lapdog for the system. Her words struck a nerve, and Logan hesitated for a fraction of a second, a moment of humanity amidst the blood and rain. But then, a team of mercenaries swarmed in, their automatic weapons firing. Logan released Riley, lunging at the nearest man with harness, a wooden stick swinging in a wide arc. He blocked with a flurry of Wing Chun, then landed a Muay Thai elbow to the man's chin, dropping him. A second man attacked with Kung Fu, his fists a blur in the dark hallway. Logan dodged, using Krav Maga to strike at weak points, then executed a spinning capoeira heel kick like a ballet dancer, felling him in a puddle of rainwater. The moves were as smooth as an action movie, but bullets whizzing past his ear were a stark reminder of the risk. Caleb provided cover fire from the opposite rooftop, a bullet piercing one man's head through a broken window. But Riley escaped. Running to the upper floors with the code, Logan gave chase. Leaping over a rusty railing and landing on the scaffolding outside the building, the rain lashed his face, and the Wall Street wind howled, threatening to throw him from the 100-story precipice. Below him, the financial district glittered with yellow lights like an ocean of stars. But up here was a slippery metal hell. Riley was waiting on the platform, attacking with Kali once more, her two knives flashing in the rain. Logan dodged, using mixed martial arts, a combination of short boxing jabs and low silat kicks, but she was skilled, stabbing a knife into his shoulder. Warm blood mixed with the cold rain, the pain sharp and spreading. But Logan pushed through it. Using Aikido to lock her arm and break her joint, the knife clattered into the abyss. Riley collapsed on the shaking platform. Siberia, Reed is waiting for you in a snowy hell. He tied her up with a spare rope, as Ava confirmed through the comms. The code was sent to Russia. We have to fly now. But a small explosion rocked the building. Reed's trap. Fire spread from the lower floors, black smoke billowing through the hallways. Logan ran down, dodging flying debris, and pulled Ava from a pile of rubble. Caleb took out the last two soldiers from a distance as Dylan rammed the truck through the entrance to pick them up. Get in. The building's coming down. They jumped in as a massive explosion behind them lit up Wall Street like a deadly firework display, sending shattered glass everywhere. The truck sped through the wet streets of Manhattan, the sound of police sirens fading in the distance. Logan clutched his bleeding shoulder, gasping for breath in the cramped cabin. Reed knew everything. The mole. Dylan interjected. We're flying to Siberia. The plane's ready at a private airfield. But Logan looked at Caleb in the mirror. He was silently cleaning his rifle. But the strange signal from his phone still flashed in Logan's mind. Trust had been shattered like the glass behind them. Ava bandaged Logan's wound, whispering, God says that forgiveness isn't weakness, but the strength to face the darkness. But justice requires truth. Her words echoed over the patter of rain on the roof, and Logan nodded, tightening his grip on his dagger. Russia is waiting, and the mole is going to pay. The plane took off into the grey dawn, heading east across the Atlantic, toward the waiting, deadly embrace of the Siberian hell. Logan wondered, was he trying to save the world, or just his own shattered soul? Amidst a Siberian blizzard, Logan led the team on snowmobiles to infiltrate the underground fortress, taking down guards with Krav Maga and Wing Chun in the icy corridors. They managed to download data showing Reed planned to blackmail the U.S. government. But an alarm triggered a dramatic helicopter chase. Logan saved Ava from a stray bullet, sparking a moment of humanity as she shared her faith, reminding him, God teaches us to forgive our enemies, to find true peace. The jet tore through the grey Atlantic sky, its engines a steady, tense heartbeat. But inside the cramped cabin, Logan Pierce felt only a heavy solitude. He sat by the window, watching the white clouds churn below like an early Siberian snow. The shoulder wound from the Wall Street scaffolding still seeping blood beneath the bandage Ava had hastily wrapped. Just hours ago, Riley Knox had revealed the truth. The real Shadow Corps was hidden in a Russian snow fortress, and Reed Voss was laughing from afar. Dylan Hayes was piloting the plane in place of the pilot, his hands gripping the controls, his voice raspy through the headset. Snowstorm ahead. Boss. We'll land in an abandoned field near the border, 10 kilometers from the fortress. Caleb Ford checked his rifle, the scope glinting in the dim cabin light. Silent as usual. Ava Lang typed on her laptop, her face pale under her glasses. Radars showing heavy anti-air defenses. The fortress is under a cliff, with a snow-covered subterranean entrance. I can hack it remotely, but you'll only have 30 seconds. Logan nodded, gripping his double-bladed dagger, his trust in his team shaken after the strange signal from Caleb in Central Park. Was the Texan sniper the one who sold them out? Or was he, with his own bloody past in the CIA, the real liability? His mind raced. Reed was avenging his sister. And he was hunting Reed for his own. Would the deadly cycle ever end? They landed as dusk painted the Siberian snow a brilliant orange. But the blizzard hit as fast as a scythe's blade. Wind howled through the pitch-black rock cliffs, and swirling snow blinded them. The plane disappeared under a white blanket as the team, clad in thick camouflage parkas, donned night vision goggles and spiked snow skis. Logan led the way, his body low to the ground, sliding down a steep mountainside, the skis cutting through the soft snow like a knife through flesh. His breath frosting in the air before him. The cold was bone deep, the wind lashing his face like a whip. But he could feel the fortress was near a massive concrete block hidden beneath the permafrost. Reed's lair from his Russian arms, smuggling days. Caleb was positioned high on a cliff, his voice crackling over the comms. Clear shot. 2-man patrols every hour. Dylan waited with the all-terrain snowmobile, its engine idling under the snow. Ava whispered, her voice trembling from the cold. Infrared cameras detected. The lock opens in 20 seconds. Be careful. Logan. He nodded. His heart pounding 18 hours remained before Shadow Core activated, extorting trillions from the U. That, and turning Wall Street into economic ash. They approached the entrance, a giant steel door camouflaged with artificial snow. A 360-degree camera glistening under the crescent moon. Ava hacked from a small drone, her wrist vibrating slightly. It's open! The door hissed open, revealing a pitch-black corridor inside. Logan darted in first, moving like a phantom. But a guard suddenly appeared from a blind corner tall, wearing a Russian mercenary's fur coat. An AK rifle aimed straight at him. He growled, throwing a heavy sambo punch through the freezing air. Logan dodged, his body twisting with Krav Maga training, and countered with a straight punch to the throat that made the man choke. Then, a low silhouette leg sweep, he fell face first onto the slippery ice floor. Snow from the corridor's entrance, scattering around him, in one swift, silent motion. Logan locked him in a Brazilian jiu-jitsu chokehold until he was unconscious. Red blood staining the white floor. One down. He whispered into his comms. Caleb confirmed. Second target neutralized from a distance down. A bullet pierced the second guard's head, clearing the path. Inside the fortress, the cold steel corridors twisted like frozen veins. Flashing red lights illuminated frost-covered metal walls, and the bone-chilling cold stiffened Logan's joints. The acrid smell of machine oil and gunpowder hung in the air, and the distant hum of servers was like the whisper of a demon. They moved deeper, Ava guiding them with a hacked map. Control room is on the lower level, the Shadow Core data is there, but suddenly, an alarm blared, a piercing siren that shattered the silence as the red lights flashed wildly. "We're made!" Ava yelled. Her voice panicked. A group of mercenaries poured out from the intersections. 8 of them, armed with electric batons and pistols, their faces hidden by masks under fur hats. Logan faced the leader, who moved with the fluid Russian style of Sistema, his powerful punches cutting through the frigid air as he tried to take Logan to the ground. Logan pivoted, using Wing Chun to block the flurry of blows, his forearms like a steel wall. Then a sharp Muay Thai elbow struck the man's jaw, dropping him. Broken teeth and blood scattering on the snow. A second man swung a wushu electric baton, its blue arc of electricity sizzling. Logan dodged, using judo to grab his wrist and snap the joint with a crack that echoed down the hall. Then spun into a capoeira heel kick like a scythe, sending the man flying into a metal wall, leaving a deep dent. The team coordinated. Caleb provided cover fire through a ventilation grate. Taking down 2 men, Dylan threw a smoke grenade, creating a white fog that mixed with the snow falling from the vents. Ava used a taser to drop another man. They burst into the central control room, a vast chamber with servers blinking blue, their screens displaying global satellite maps that glittered like shooting stars. Ava plugged in a USB, frantically downloading data amidst the echoing gunfire. Reed's planning to blackmail the These ARCs, government Shadow Corps hacks satellites, makes them fall on New York, causing global stock market chaos. Logan checked a map of the fortress and spotted a storage bay on a deeper level. But the sound of heavy footsteps approached. Soldiers were flooding in from a spiral staircase. He led the counterattack, charging a group of 6 enemies. One used kickboxing, launching a high, continuous kick through the cold air. Logan ducked, using Jeet Kune Do to deliver a short, sharp punch to the man's wrist, making him drop his gun. Then a taekwondo roundhouse kick hit him in the chest. He collapsed on the icy floor, his white breath ceasing. The move was as beautiful as a dance of death amidst the humming servers. But another man fired a small rocket from a distance. The explosion rocked the corridor, flames licking the red-hot steel walls. Logan vaulted over the railing, landing on the floor below to dodge the flying debris and billowing black smoke. He came face to face with a tall assassin wielding harness sticks, which he swung in an arc through the smoke and flames. Logan countered with Wing Chun blocks. Then a Muay Thai elbow crushed the man's jaw, blood sprayed. Mixing with the snow, the team escaped through a side exit, running down a corridor filled with smoke and ice fragments. Caleb shot to clear a path, taking down a man on the stairs, while Dylan prepped the snowmobile outside. Get on. Now. They burst out into the blizzard, the wind whipping like a wild animal, the swirling snow obscuring their vision. But an enemy helicopter roared out of the darkness, its blinding searchlight cutting through the white curtain. Machine guns unleashing a dense spray of bullets into the snow, the rounds hitting the ground and kicking up explosions of mud and ice. Logan tackled the man closest to Ava, pushing her down into the snow. To avoid a stray volley, a bullet grazed his shoulder, warm blood soaking his parka. Thanks, Ava whispered, her eyes glistening with tears in the cold, her hand clutching a silver cross hidden in her collar. God teaches us to forgive our enemies to find true peace, even Reed. Maybe he's just another victim. Her words pierced Logan's heart. Awakening a moment of humanity in the middle of hell, he nodded, pulling her to her feet to run. Maybe, but right now, we survive. He leaped onto a nearby ice wall, sliding down to dodge gunfire, snow spraying like white fireworks. Grabbing onto the skid of the hovering helicopter, his body swinging wildly in the wind. Logan faced the pilot through the shattered cockpit glass. The pilot drew a knife and lunged. Logan dodged, using Aikido to lock his arm and break the joint. Then a Muay Thai elbow to the face sent the pilot slumping over. He bailed out, parachuting down to Dylan's snowmobile as the engine roared to life. Speeding away through the storm, the team escaped the chase, stopping in a nearby cave. The entrance already covered in snow like a temporary grave. Ava checked the data. The real Shadow Corps is on a deeper level. Reed has already transferred the code to New York. The mole is still in contact. Logan gripped his knife, his gaze colder than the Siberian snow. We're going back to the States. Find the traitor, then finish Reed. Caleb and Dylan nodded. But the air was heavy. They boarded their hidden plane and headed west through the black night. Logan stared out the window at the fading snow. A burning rage within him. Black core wasn't just a weapon, it was a symbol of shattered souls like his. But in this frozen hell, he knew one thing. Trust had melted away. And the price of betrayal would be blood. Returning to New York from Siberia, Logan discovered Dylan was the mole through the hacked data, leading to a brutal hand-to-hand fight in a dark warehouse with judo and Muay Thai. Dylan confessed he betrayed them for money from Reed. But Logan spared him, handing him over to the police anonymously. The team, now just 3, raced to the Empire State Building, where Reed activated a poison gas trap, forcing Logan into a desperate climb up the scaffolding in the middle of a violent storm. The jet tore through the dark Atlantic sky, the engine's steady drone like the whisper of death. But in the cramped cabin, Logan Pierce could only hear his own heart pounding. He sat in silence, staring out the window as Siberia disappeared beneath a heavy layer of grey clouds, the white snow still clinging to his camouflage parka, melting into tiny droplets. The shoulder wound from the helicopter chase seeped warm blood. But the real pain came from the data. Ava had downloaded a communication signal from Dylan Hayes' phone, sending the fortress coordinates to Reed Voss right before the alarm went off. The mole wasn't Caleb. It was Dylan, the brother who'd saved his life in the Mexican desert. What did he sell him out for? Money. Or an old grudge from a failed mission years ago. Ava Lang sat beside him, her laptop open on her lap, her face weary in the dim cabin light. It's confirmed. Logan. Dylan sent everything our location. Our plan. Reed knew we were coming to Siberia from the start. Caleb Ford sat in the back, cleaning his rifle with mechanical movements, his deep Texan drawl cutting through the silence. Take him out. Boss. Before he reports anything else, Dylan was piloting the plane, his knuckles white as he gripped the controls. Staring silently ahead, the air in the cabin was as thick as the New York fog that was about to swallow them. Logan gripped his dagger, rage rising in him like hellfire. Wait till we're back in Brooklyn. I don't want his blood on this plane. They landed at the grey crack of dawn at a private airfield on the outskirts of New York. Fog clinging to the runway like a shroud hiding sin, carrying the scent of drizzle and exhaust from the waking city. Logan stepped out first, the biting winter wind whipping his face, seeping through his worn leather jacket. Only 24 hours left. According to the data, Shadow Corps was about to activate its backup code at the Empire State Building, Reed's hub for hacking Wall Street remotely. They piled into a waiting armored van, Dylan gripping the wheel and heading for a Brooklyn warehouse, tires screeching on the wet asphalt. The distant neon lights faded, skyscrapers reaching up like bony fingers pointing at the grey sky. Logan sat in the back, checking the data one last time on Ava's tablet. Dylan. Stop the van now. His voice was cold, without a hint of hesitation. Dylan glanced in the mirror, a flash of panic in his eyes. Boss? We're not at the warehouse yet, but Logan pressed the muzzle of a Glock to the back of his neck. Out. Now. Caleb drew his combat knife. Ava backed away, her hands trembling slightly over her laptop. The van screeched to a halt on the side of a deserted suburban road, rain drumming on the roof like the beat of a death march. They dragged Dylan into an old Brooklyn warehouse, graffiti-stained brick walls under a flickering neon light, the thick smell of machine oil and rust like the breath of the past. Logan shoved him into the middle of the cold concrete floor, his gun still aimed squarely. You're the mole. The coordinates in Siberia. The trap in Sonora. It was all you. Dylan smirked, his eyes bloodshot in the sickly yellow light. But his voice trembled. You figured it out? Reed pays better than the CIA. He promised I'd be rich after Wall Street falls. Rage detonated inside Logan like a slow-burning fuse, the brother he'd shared beers with after missions. Now, selling them out for money. Dylan lunged suddenly. Using Russian Sambo, a style he'd secretly learned from Reed's own trainer, trying to wrestle Logan to the floor. Logan dodged, his body twisting with judo, and countered with a straight Krav Maga punch to the knee joint that sent Dylan stumbling. A hand-to-hand battle erupted in the dark warehouse, the sound of impacts echoing like thunder off the brick walls, the fluorescent light flickering madly over flying fists. Dylan countered fiercely, throwing a straight boxer's punch at Logan's face, the wind from his fist cutting through the musty air. Logan sidestepped to the left, using Wing Chun to block the flurry of blows, his forearm a wall of steel, then landed a sharp Muay Thai elbow to Dylan's chin, forcing him back. Blood dripping from his mouth onto the stained concrete floor. "You betrayed us for money? We were brothers," Logan roared, fury like a fire in his gut. Lunging in with a low silhouette leg sweep, Dylan jumped to avoid it, using judo to grab Logan's jacket, trying to throw him over a stack of metal crates. A loud clang echoed as the crates toppled. Logan twisted in midair, using Aikido to reverse the hold and break his arm with a dry crack. Then followed with a perfect arcing capoeira heel kick to the throat. Dylan fell backward, choking and sputtering, his eyes wide with shock. "The CIA left me for dead in Mexico," he snarled, pulling a hidden boot knife and stabbing lightning fast through the shadows. Logan dodged by a hair's breadth, using Jeet Kune Do to deliver a short, sharp punch to the wrist that sent the knife clattering away, then locked him in a tight Brazilian jiu-jitsu chokehold. Dylan struggled, his face turning purple, but Logan held firm. "End it. Why didn't you kill me from the start?" Dylan gasped, his voice weak. "Reed wanted you alive to watch the world burn. Like your sister." And his. The confession cut deep. Logan hesitated for a split second, a tragic moment suspended between blood and darkness. He remembered Ava's words in Siberia. "Forgiveness isn't weakness. God teaches that forgiving your enemy is the key that opens the door to peace." Ava whispered from a corner of the warehouse, her eyes glinting under the neon light. Logan loosened his grip, delivering one final punch to Dylan's jaw that knocked him unconscious. "You'll live, but justice is coming." He tied Dylan up with spare rope and made an anonymous call to the police through an old CIA channel. He wouldn't kill a teammate, even one who deserved it. Ava checked Dylan's phone. "It's over. Reed knows about the Empire State Plan. He's waiting on the roof." Caleb nodded, loading a magazine into his rifle. "Team's down to 3. I'll provide overwatch." Logan stood up, wiping blood from his face with his sleeve, his heart as heavy as lead. He'd lost Dylan, but his trust in Ava and Caleb was stronger than ever. "Get in the van. Empire State. We end Reed before Shadow Corps wakes up." They sped out into the New York night, the van's engine roaring through the rain-soaked streets of Manhattan, neon lights reflecting on the glass like streaks of hellfire. As Logan drove, his mind reeled with memories. That time in Siberia, years ago, when he took down an assassin with a taekwondo roundhouse kick in the cold snow, only to lose his sister to a CIA order. Now, Reed was using Shadow Corps to get revenge on that same system. Would killing him bring justice? Or just start another cycle of blood? They stopped near the Empire State Building, a storm wind whipping fiercely off the Hudson River, carrying the smell of salt and death. The iconic tower rose into the grey sky, the lights on its rooftop blinking in the distance like the eyes of a demon. Logan checked his body armor, his dagger, his Glock. This isn't just a mission. This is for the souls we lost. Ava nodded. And for the truth. Caleb smirked. Reed dies tonight. They approached the building in the torrential rain, the darkness enveloping them like a challenge from Reed himself. Logan pushed open a fire escape door. The pitch-black corridor echoed with the hum of machinery. Red emergency lights flashing like fresh blood. He moved with stealth. But an alarm suddenly shrieked, the piercing siren tearing the silence apart. "It's a trap!" Ava yelled through his earpiece. Reed had activated the automated systems. Steel doors slammed shut, blocking the way, while toxic gas billowed from the vents, the acrid smell of chemicals stinging his nostrils. Logan sprinted toward the elevator, dodging the thick clouds of gas, his eyes burning and watering. A team of mercenaries poured out from the stairwell, 6 of them in full face masks, their MP5s unleashing a hail of bullets. The first one fired a burst, rounds chewing into the cracked concrete wall. Logan rolled out of the way, lunging at him with a Krav Maga strike to the throat, followed by a low silhouette leg sweep. The man fell face down, the gas swirling around his body. The second merc swung an electric baton, its blue arc flashing through the toxic haze. Logan dodged, using Wing Chun to block the strike, then landed a Muay Thai elbow to the chin that sent the man crumpling to the cold floor. The gas was making him dizzy. His mind raced, wondering if Reed had anticipated everything, or if his former mole had sold them out one last time. Ava hacked in from the van. Gas shuts off in 40 seconds. Climb the exterior scaffolding. Logan kicked out a window and jumped onto the scaffolding, hanging precariously from the side of the tower. The storm winds battered him, threatening to throw him into the 100-story abyss. The torrential rain made the metal slick, his hands shaking as he gripped the rusty railing. Below him, New York glittered with neon lights like a chaotic ocean of stars. But up here was a hell of howling wind. A mercenary appeared on the scaffolding, using Russian Sambo to try and throw him off. Logan spun in the air, using Aikido to grab his arm and break the joint, then followed with an arcing capoeira heel kick that sent the man flying into the void, his scream swallowed by the rain and the city far below. It was a reckless move. Logan could feel death close by, and his rage surged. Reed had to pay for every betrayal, for his sister, and for Reed's own. He climbed higher, step by step, his muscles burning, the wind shrieking past his ears like a curse. Ava whispered in his earpiece, "Reed's on the roof. He's activating Shadow Core. The satellite signal is transmitting." Logan clenched his fists, knowing the real battle was about to begin, and the price might be his own life. The storm roared, but his will was as unyielding as the Empire State Tower itself. Justice, however bloody, had to prevail. On the rooftop of the Empire State, Logan confronted Reed in a battle of Russian Sistema combined with Aikido under the torrential rain, destroying a decoy Shadow Core and capturing him. However, Reed revealed the real device was on a cargo plane circling Manhattan, forcing Logan to parachute onto the enemy plane in mid-air. Ava temporarily hacked the signal, but an explosion on the plane nearly cost Logan his life, revealing a larger organization behind Reed. The storm winds atop the Empire State Building roared like a wounded beast. Torrential rain lashed Logan Pierce's face, each cold drop stinging like a tiny blade cutting his skin. He clung to the vibrating scaffolding, his muscles screaming after the reckless climb from the middle floors. The acrid smell of the toxic gas still burning in his nostrils. Below his feet, New York was a chaotic sea of neon, traffic flowing like a river of molten metal. But 100 stories up, the world had shrunk to a slick, wet, metal hell. Ava Lang's voice crackled through his earpiece over the sound of thunder. "Rooftop is clear of guards. Reed is there. Shadow Core is blinking. Satellite transmission is at 80%. From a rooftop across the street." Caleb Ford confirmed. "I've got you covered, boss. But this wind is strong. My shot's off by 10 degrees. Logan clenched his fist, rainwater mixing with blood from a shoulder wound, running down the sleeve of his torn armor. Hold your position. I'm finishing this. Rage surged like hellfire. Reed Voss, the man who was once his training partner, was now using Shadow Core to destroy everything he'd sworn to protect. Would killing him erase the bloody memory of his sister, or just add another layer of ash? He vaulted over the final railing, landing on the expansive rooftop. The wet concrete glistened under the flashing red emergency lights, the storm winds whipping the rain into a white mist that obscured the horizon. Reed stood in the center, tall as a Russian bronze statue, his long leather coat soaked and plastered to his muscular frame. In his hands, he held the sleek, black Shadow Core device, which blinked with a blue light. A countdown on its screen read, 8 minutes until Wall Street's collapse. His scarred face gleamed in the rain, his blue eyes as sharp as Siberian ice. You're persistent, Pierce, but you're too late. The world will kneel before me. He triggered his final trap. The rooftop floor began to vibrate violently as 3 security robots rose from hidden hatches, their buzzsaws spinning and red lasers cutting through the humid air. Logan charged, dodging a laser beam that sizzled past his shoulder. He used Krav Maga to shatter the first robot's joints, spraying shrapnel across the rainy rooftop, then used a Muay Thai elbow to crush the sensors of the second, which collapsed with a screech of tortured metal. But Reed lunged, using Russian Sistema, a fluid, powerful style like an avalanche, to try and wrestle him onto the slick floor. Logan countered with Aikido, grabbing his hand and reversing the joint with a crack that echoed in the storm. Then landed a capoeira heel kick on Reed's chin that sent him staggering back, blood and rain streaming from his mouth. A dramatic hand-to-hand battle erupted on the rooftop, the torrential rain beating down like war drums, each blow like lightning tearing through the sky. Reed countered with a kung fu straight punch as fast as the rain, his fist whistling through the cold air. Logan dodged, using Wing Chun to block the flurry of attacks, his forearms a solid wall, then swept Reed's legs with a low silent kick, causing him to stumble on the wet floor. Why? Reed, your sister died because of the CIA, but Shadow Core will kill millions, Logan roared over the thunder, lunging in with a short boxing punch to the ribs. Reed laughed maniacally, twisting away with a fluid Sistema move. The system killed my sister, just like it killed yours. I'm just getting revenge, blackmailing them to their knees. He pulled out a serrated dagger, stabbing quickly through the curtain of rain. Logan dodged by a hair's breadth. Using judo to grab and twist his wrist back, the knife clattered to the floor, then a sharp Muay Thai elbow landed on Reed's jaw, sending him reeling, his back slamming against the concrete with a thud. Caleb provided cover fire, a bullet piercing the third laser robot as metal exploded in a shower of blue fire in the rain. Logan snatched the Shadow Core from Reed's hand and crushed it under his heel. The screen shattered. The signal died, and the plot was temporarily foiled. But Reed just coughed out a laugh, blood mixing with the rain. It's a fake. Pierce, the real one is on my cargo plane circling Manhattan. You've lost. Rage exploded like an atomic bomb in Logan's chest, tricked again. Reed playing cat and mouse to the very end. He pinned Reed down, tightening a Brazilian jiu-jitsu chokehold around his neck. Who's behind you? You're not alone in this. Reed gasped for air, his eyes flashing with hatred. A bigger organization, the Dark Syndicate. From Russia to Washington. The CIA knows. But they covered it up. His words hit hard, revealing a web far deeper than Logan had imagined. This wasn't just personal revenge, but a global conspiracy. Ava shouted through his earpiece, radar confirmed, cargo plane is 3 kilometers out. Flying low over the Hudson. The real Shadow Core signal is broadcasting. I've hacked it and bought you 10 minutes. Logan tied Reed up with a rope from his pack, speaking to Caleb through the comms. Hold him. Make an anonymous call to the cops. Caleb confirmed. Done. But boss? Parachuting onto an enemy plane? That's suicide. Logan stared out at the stormy sky. The cargo plane a distant. Flashing Spectre, no other choice. Ava. Guide my coordinates. He ran to the edge of the rooftop. The gale force winds pushing him back. The rain blurring his vision. Caleb shot down the last robot. The explosion echoing like a second clap of thunder. Logan deployed his backup parachute and leaped into the void. The wind shrieked past his ears like a banshee's scream. His body in freefall amidst the downpour. New York spinning beneath him like a hellish vortex. The chute deployed late. He cut the lines midway. Aiming straight for the wing of the circling cargo plane, the metal was ice cold in the rain as he gripped the wing. Climbing into the cargo bay through a partially open emergency hatch. It was pitch black inside. The thick smell of engine oil mixed with gas fumes from the engine as a group of mercenaries rushed out, 4 of them. Faces hidden by masks. Pistols aimed. The first one lunged with a sharp savate kick through the thin, high-altitude air. Logan dodged. Responding with Kali. 2 short knives whipped through the darkness with a whistle, deflecting the gun and sending the man down. The second tried to wrestle him to the shaking floor using Russian sambo. Logan pivoted with a short Jeet Kune Do punch to his throat. Then followed with a fluid capoeira spinning kick that landed on his chin. He crumpled. Blood spreading on the metal floor. The plane suddenly banked. The pilot trying to throw him off in the moment of zero gravity. Logan floated in the middle of the bay, facing the last 2 men who were unleashing a series of high kickboxing kicks. He adapted quickly. Using mixed martial arts, combining boxing punches with low silhouette kicks to take them down one by one. One flew into a wall, leaving a deep dent. The other fell face first into a mess of tangled cables. He grabbed a steel bar, moving through the swaying cargo bay, his heart pounding like a war drum. Ava's voice came through the earpiece. The cockpit! Shadow Corps is in there. They're going to drop a satellite on Wall Street. Logan rushed forward, but the plane banked again. Everything turning upside down as he looked through the cracked window at the rain-swept city. A final assassin swung an harness stick in a wide arc through the 0G. Logan blocked with a series of Wing Chun moves. Then a Muay Thai elbow to the chin sent the man flying out the open cargo door. The wind sucked violently, nearly pulling Logan with him. But he held tight to a railing and kept climbing. He burst into the cockpit. Reed wasn't there. But the co-pilot held the real Shadow Corps, a sleek black device blinking an intense red. Die, he roared, activating a secondary device that sent the plane into an uncontrolled, spiraling nosedive toward the Hudson. Logan lunged, dodging the man's rain of kung fu punches by rolling into a Brazilian jiu-jitsu grapple, locking in a chokehold in a split second, but the man broke free. Landing a gut-wrenching punch, the plane shook violently. The view of New York spinning below like a wheel of death. Ava screamed, "I'm stabilizing the plane. Destroy the Shadow Corps." Logan snatched the device and smashed it under his boot. The screen shattered. The signal died, but a quick check showed a backup code had already been sent. The co-pilot drew a gun. Logan dodged the shot and fired back with his Glock, hitting him in the shoulder and dropping him. But a small explosion from the engine spread. The plane shuddered. Flames licked the wing, and it plunged toward the river. Caleb brought their team's aircraft alongside. Opening the bay door, jump! Logan deployed his second chute and landed in the team's bay just in time. The storm winds whipping through the opening. The enemy cargo plane exploded over the Hudson, a fireball lighting up the night sky like hellish fireworks. Debris raining down into the black water. Logan gasped for breath, having narrowly escaped death. But Ava confirmed, the signal is temporarily blocked. But Reed was right, it's a bigger organization. The Dark Syndicate. We're not done. Caleb made an emergency landing on the outskirts of the city. Reed's alive. But now he's bait. Logan looked out the window at New York glittering in the rain. A sense of tragic purpose washing over him. He had won a battle. But a deeper darkness remained. Hunt down the last henchman. Manhattan is waiting, but in his heart, he wondered, does justice truly exist? Or is it just an illusion in a repeating cycle of revenge? After the plane crash on the Hudson River, Logan led the remaining team to hunt down the last henchman in Manhattan, resulting in a high-speed car chase and a shootout on a bridge. Discovering Reed's motive was revenge for his sister, who died in a CIA hack. Logan struggled with a moral dilemma, remembering the words, "The Lord says to love your enemy as yourself." For justice is not always paid in blood. They determined the backup code was at a fortress in Siberia. Preparing to return to that snowy hell, flames from the exploded cargo plane still licked at the black surface of the Hudson River, reflecting the neon lights of New York like raw, unhealed wounds. Logan Pierce landed hard in the team's aircraft bay, the late deploying parachute causing him to stumble as the storm winds slammed him against the cold metal wall. Caleb Ford pulled him up, gripping his shoulder tightly. "You made it, boss." But the Shadow Core backup code it was sent. Ava Lang typed frantically on her laptop amidst the shaking engine roar, her face pale under her glasses. "I've blocked it for 5 minutes." Data from the fake device revealed Reed's motive, revenge for his sister, who died in the 2018 CIA hack, a secret order from Victor Kane. Logan gasped for breath, blood from a new wound seeping through his torn armor. A wave of rage mixed with tragedy rising like the river below. Reed wasn't just a criminal, he was the face of an innocent victim. Just like Logan's own sister, lost years ago in Siberia. Was killing him justice? Or just another turn in a bloody cycle? The team's aircraft made an emergency landing at a small suburban airport. Police sirens fading in the distance under the torrential rain. Reed's alive. But his last henchman, his cousin, Mason Hale, is in Manhattan. Logan ordered, his deep voice cutting through the patter of rain on the roof of their waiting truck. "Hunt him down before the code fully activates." They tore into the New York night, the armored truck's engine roaring through the wet streets of Manhattan, its tires hissing on the slick asphalt that reflected the neon lights like fallen stars. With Dylan captured, there were only 3 of them left. Logan drove. Caleb loaded a rifle in the back, and Ava hacked coordinates from her laptop. Mason is in an old building near Times Square, handing off the backup code to the dark Syndicate. If we don't stop him, Siberia will get the signal. The storm winds from the Hudson still chased them, carrying the smell of smoke and salt. Logan's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, his mind racing. Reed lost his sister to the CIA. He lost his to that same system. Was true justice about killing? Or forgiveness? He glanced at Ava in the mirror. "What do you think? Reed, is he just a pawn?" She looked up, her eyes glinting in the dashboard light. "The Lord says to love your enemy as yourself. Because justice is not always paid in blood. Maybe Reed needs the truth, not a bullet." Her words echoed through the heavy rain, soothing some of the fire in Logan's gut, a moment of humanity in an urban hell. He nodded. "Maybe, but for now, we act first." They stopped 100 meters from the old building, hidden from view by the drenched oak trees lining the street. The abandoned building, its brick walls scarred with graffiti, its windows shattered like rotten teeth, was the temporary hideout for Mason Hale, Reed's cousin. A mountain of a man with muscles built from his time in Russian training. Logan led the way. Entering through a back alley, the hallway was pitch black, filled with the smell of damp mold and gunpowder. A red emergency light casting long, demonic shadows. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed as a cold, rainy wind blew through the cracks in the door. Suddenly, a group of mercenaries poured out from a dark corner, 5 of them, masked, pistols aimed. The first one rushed Logan, launching a sharp savate kick through the heavy air. Logan dodged. Striking back with Filipino Kali, two short knives moved like the wind and rain, their blades hissing through the dark, deflecting the gun and dropping the man. The second tried to wrestle him to the wet concrete floor with Russian Sambo. Logan twisted, striking low with a Penkak Silat punch to the gut. Then followed with a spinning kick like a scythe to the throat. The man collapsed, his blood pooling in the rainwater. Close quarters combat erupted in the narrow hallway, the clang of impacts echoing amidst the puff of suppressed gunfire. Logan took down the third man with Jeet Kune, do a short. Sharp punch to the wrist sent the gun clattering, followed by a Brazilian jiu-jitsu chokehold that squeezed him into unconsciousness. Caleb provided cover fire from the back door, a bullet piercing a man's head through shattered glass. But Mason Hale appeared from the stairwell, as massive as a Siberian bear. His eyes bloodshot with hatred. "You killed Reed? Die!" He lunged forward with Arnis, his wooden stick swinging in a gleaming arc under the red lights. Logan blocked with a flurry of Wing Chun, his forearms a wall of steel. Then a sharp Muay Thai elbow caught Mason on the chin, sending him staggering back, a shattered tooth flying to the floor. Reed's alive, but his sister died because of the CIA. Why continue this? Logan roared over the patter of rain from the leaking roof. Mason laughed like a savage, countering with a rain of rapid-fire kung fu punches. For blood, he lost his sister. I lost my brothers. Shadow Corps will burn Washington to the ground. Logan dodged, using Krav Maga to strike a weak point below the ribs, then spun in a balletic capoeira heel kick that slammed into Mason's shoulder. Mason stumbled but drew a pistol and fired wildly. Bullets stitched the wall near Logan's ear as he rolled. Diving in to use Aikido to twist the man's arm, the gun fell with a clatter, then swept his legs out from under him with a low Silat kick, sending the giant crashing backward into a spreading pool of red water. Ava shouted through his earpiece, "The backup code is on his USB. Hack it now," Logan interrogated Mason. A knife to his throat on the slick concrete floor. "The Shadow Syndicate, who are they?" Mason gasped. Blood mixing with rain. Bigger than Reed from Moscow to Wall Street. The real code is in the Siberian fortress. Go back. Pierce a snowy hell awaits you. His words confirmed Logan's fears. The organization ran deeper than personal revenge. He tied Mason up and ripped the USB free. Justice is coming. Not blood, but the truth. But Mason just chuckled. The truth? The CIA killed Reed's sister and yours. They covered it all up. The words cut deep. Logan hesitated, his morals torn between rage and tragedy. This man was like him, a victim of the system. Caleb dragged Mason away. Unmarked cars. "Boss, we've got company." 4 black jeeps tore out of the Manhattan darkness, their blinding headlights cutting through the torrential rain as machine guns spat a dense hail of bullets at the team's truck. Dylan had been captured, but the Syndicate's remnants were relentless. Logan floored it, the truck swerving through the gridlock traffic of Times Square, the neon glow of Broadway reflecting off the glass like chaotic fireworks. The blare of horns mixing with the gunfire. "Brooklyn Bridge," he yelled. Dylan used to drive here. Now. Caleb fired cover from the back window. A bullet hit the lead jeep's tire, causing it to flip into the guardrail and erupt in a blazing fireball. Dylan's voice echoed from a memory. "Juke right." Logan dodged a semi-truck pulling out, and the team's vehicle jumped through a narrow gap on the I-278. Rain lashing the blurry windshield. The second jeep stayed close, a gunman leaning out to fire an AK. Rounds pinging off the truck's cargo bay. Logan opened the rear door and returned fire with his Glock. 2 shots hit the engine, sending plumes of black smoke billowing out. Caleb took out the third jeep's driver from a distance. The enemy vehicle slammed into a steel bridge support with a thunderous crash of metal that shook the storm. The last vehicle was persistent, Logan leaped onto the roof of his own truck, wind and rain stinging his face, and faced the enemy driver at point-blank range. The man threw a series of looping taekwondo kicks through the wet air. Logan dodged, countering with mixed martial arts, a short boxing jab combined with a low silat kick that struck his chest and made him stagger. He lunged, driving a penkak silat punch into the man's gut. Then a capoeira heel kick to his neck. The driver fell, and his out-of-control vehicle plunged into the East River, sending up a massive splash beneath the glittering lights of the Brooklyn Bridge. The team escaped, pulling over at a safe point in the suburbs, their ragged breaths filling the humid, gunpowder-scented cab. Ava analyzed the USB. The backup code is in the Siberian fortress, the deepest level. The Syndicate is bigger, but we have the coordinates. Caleb wiped down his rifle. Back to that frozen hell. This time, we finish it. Logan nodded, looking out the window as the rain fell harder, the city vanishing into the darkness. For Reed's sister, and for mine. Not for blood, but for real justice. But in his heart, he knew Siberia would demand a sacrifice, and the Syndicate's shadow was deeper than the white snow. The vehicle sped toward the airport, preparing for the final battle in that frozen hell, where the truth would be revealed amid gunfire and falling snow. During their second infiltration of the Siberian fortress, Logan's team faced elite soldiers in a blizzard, with Caleb making a heroic sacrifice while sniping a rocket-wielding enemy. Logan took down Mason Hale Reed's cousin with mixed martial arts amidst the humming servers. But Ava was critically wounded while hacking the code. In a tragic moment, Ava died, whispering a prayer, leaving Logan alone to face the remaining forces. The jet tore through a thick layer of clouds, the roar of its engines drowning out the howling wind outside the thick-paned window. But inside the cramped cabin, Logan Pierce felt only a crushing loneliness, as heavy as the Siberian snow that was about to swallow them. He sat by the window, staring down at the grey Atlantic under a sliver of moon, the USB from Mason Hale still warm in his armor pocket, the Shadow Core backup code that led straight back to the underground fortress for a second time. According to the data Ava had hacked, they had only 12 hours left before the Shadow Syndicate activated it from the deepest level, turning the global economy to ash. In the back row, Caleb Ford checked his Barrett rifle, its scope glinting in the dim cabin light. No mistakes this time. Boss, I'll cover you from the cliffs, take out all their soldiers before they even get a scent. Ava Lang typed on a laptop on her lap, her face pale behind her glasses, her voice trembling slightly. The fortress has upgraded security, 20 elite soldiers, automated rocket traps. I can hack the code, but I'll only have 2 minutes. Logan nodded, gripping the double-bladed dagger hidden at his belt, his heart pounding like a war drum. Losing Dylan had hurt enough. Now, returning to that snowy hell with a team of just 3, he wondered if justice was worth the sacrifice, or if it was just a phantom of revenge for his missing sister. Reed Voss was captured, but the Syndicate was bigger, and the Russian darkness was deeper than the eternal snow. They landed at midnight in a deserted field near the Siberian border. The blizzard hit even harder than the last time. The wind howled through the stark black cliffs like a wolf's cry. The swirling snow obliterated their vision, and the bone-deep cold stiffened Logan's joints despite his thick camouflage parka. The team put on their night vision goggles and spiked snow cleats. Logan led the way. Sliding down a steep mountainside, the cleats cut through the soft snow like a knife through flesh, his breath frosting in the air before him. The faint smell of ice and gunpowder drifted from the distance. The fortress appeared like a hibernating monster under a false blanket of snow, its massive steel doors shimmering under the moon. Caleb climbed to a high position on the cliffs, his voice crackling through the earpiece. Clear line of sight. They've doubled the guards taking them down. Dylan used to drive their evac vehicle. Now it was just the brothers he had left. Ava whispered, her hand clutching a silver cross. The Lord teaches that in darkness, hope is a flame that never goes out. We will survive. Her words soothed some of the fear inside Logan, a moment of humanity in a frozen hell. He nodded. For our sisters, let's move. They approached the entrance. Ava hacked a small drone from a distance. Doors opening in 15 seconds, but an alarm suddenly blared. The fortress's red lights flashing manically through the blinding snow. It's a Syndicate trap, Ava yelled. A group of elite soldiers burst from the whiteout, 12 men in white camouflage parkas, aiming AK rifles and electric batons. Their faces hidden by fur-lined hoods and masks. Logan charged the first one, who used Russian Sambo to try and throw him onto the slick ice. Logan twisted away with Krav Maga, countering with a direct punch to the throat that made the man choke, then swept his legs with a low silat kick. He fell face first, sending up a spray of snow mixed with spreading red blood. The second man swung a wushu electric baton, its blue arc of electricity flashing through the blizzard. Logan dodged, using judo to grab his wrist and snap the joint with a crack that echoed in the howling wind. Then a spinning capoeira heel kick like a scythe sent him flying into a deep recess in the cliff face. His movements were fluid amidst the deadly white landscape. Logan felt the adrenaline surge, but a bullet whizzing past his ear was a stark reminder of how close death was. From the cliffs, Caleb's sniper fire took out 3 men with headshots. A 50 BMG round pierced 3 heads, creating an opening. Keep moving. Inside the frigid corridor, flashing red lights illuminated metal walls slick with frost, and the bone-chilling air turned Logan's breath white. The air was thick with the smell of machine oil and blood, and the distant hum of servers sounded like a monster's heart. They raced down to the lower levels, Ava guiding them with a hacked map. The code room is at the end, Mason Hale is waiting, but elite soldiers poured out from a junction, 8 men, armed with handheld rocket launchers and pistols, their eyes glowing red under night vision goggles. Logan led the counterattack, rushing the leader and unleashing a high kickboxing combo through the biting air. The man dodged, and Logan used Jeet Kune Do to deliver a short punch to his wrist, making the rocket launcher fall. Then a taekwondo roundhouse kick to the chest. He collapsed to the icy floor. His breath gone, Ava took one down with a taser, and Caleb provided cover fire, dropping 2 from a ventilation shaft. But one of them fired a rocket from a distance. The explosion rocked the corridor, flames licking up the red-hot steel walls. Black smoke mixing with the infiltrating snow. Logan leaped over the debris, dodging the sizzling flames, and faced a man wielding harness sticks, swinging them in an arc through the smoke and fire. He blocked with a flurry of Wing Chun. Then a Muay Thai elbow crushed the man's jaw, blood sprayed, mixing with snow. But a second man fired at Caleb's position. "Boss, I'm hit shoulder, but I got him." Caleb's voice was weak over the comms, followed by a final gunshot. The last bullet pierced the rocket-wielding soldier, saving the team. But a Syndicate helicopter rose from the darkness, firing a volley of rockets at the cliffside. A massive explosion shook the mountain, sending rock and snow cascading down. Caleb fell into the abyss, his final scream echoing and then vanishing in the storm. Survive. Logan roared in fury, tears freezing on his cheeks. No, Caleb, the heroic sacrifice of the Texan sniper cut him to the core, a wave of tragic grief washing over him. He charged forward as Ava cried silently, "God will welcome him home." They burst into the code vault, a vast server room with blinking blue servers, thick cables running like veins, and a screen counting down. 5 minutes. Mason Hale was waiting, a mountain of muscle, his eyes burning with hatred. "You killed Caleb? Now I'm finishing this." He lunged with Russian Systema, his powerful, fluid fists cutting through the cold air. Logan dodged, using Aikido to lock his arm and twist the joint. But Mason broke free, landing a gut-wrenching punch. A mixed martial arts battle erupted amidst the humming servers. Mason unleashed a rain of rapid-fire kung fu punches. And Logan countered with a Brazilian jiu-jitsu chokehold. Then a pencak silat roundhouse kick to the shoulder that sent him staggering. Ava plugged in the USB to hack the code, her hands trembling. Done. 50%. But a soldier shot at her. The bullet pierced Ava's shoulder, her red blood spreading across the cold metal floor. She fell, crying out in pain. Logan, keep going! He roared and charged Mason one last time. The man used a straight savate kick, but Logan dodged, using a combination of boxing punches and a low silat kick to take him down. Mason pulled a gun, but Logan was faster. Using twin Kali knives in a rapid slash across his wrist, the gun fell. He pinned Mason down, his voice cold. It's over. For Caleb. A final Muay Thai elbow, and Mason was unconscious. Ava whispered weakly, blood soaking her fur coat. The code. Deleted. Shadow Core is dead. Logan carried her, running out into the snow as explosions spread. The fortress shaking as if waking from a slumber. The team's helicopter was waiting. But Ava smiled one last time, her eyes closing as she whispered a prayer. The Lord says, in suffering, light will come. I love. If you... She was gone. The tragic moment ripped Logan's heart apart. Tears froze on his cheeks as he flew the helicopter away from Siberia, the snow fading beneath them. Ava was gone. Caleb was gone. He was all alone. The fortress exploded behind them, red fire blazing against the white snow. But remnants of the Syndicate were still lurking. Logan landed on the outskirts of New York and handed their bodies over to an anonymous contact. Stepping into the darkness of the rainy streets, he tightened his grip on his dagger. Knowing this, his shadow war for justice wasn't over. The Syndicate was bigger, and the ghost agent would continue the hunt alone. Logan single-handedly wiped out the remaining organization in Siberia, destroying the real Shadow Core in the fortress explosion, but discovered the CIA had hidden the truth about his past. Returning to New York in the rain, he vanished into the shadows, becoming a phantom of underground justice. With an open question, could he forgive the system that had destroyed his life? The story ends with an image of Logan looking out at the city, clutching his knife, ready for a new threat from a greater darkness. The team's helicopter, now just an empty metal shell, tore through the Siberian blizzard, the roar of its engine drowning out the howling wind, which sounded like the lamentations of Caleb and Ava. Logan Pierce sat alone in the pilot's seat, his knuckles white as he gripped the controls, his bloodshot eyes staring down at the underground fortress, disappearing beneath a blanket of white snow, stained fiery red from the explosion. He'd lost Caleb on the cliffside and Ava in the server room. Their sacrifices pierced his heart like the double-edged dagger he still wore at his belt. He was all that was left, a lonely ghost. With the USB Ava had successfully hacked before she died, the backup Shadow Core code was deleted. But remnants of the Shadow Syndicate still lurked in the fortress's deepest levels. Alone? Logan whispered, his hoarse voice mixing with the distant thunder, tears freezing on his cold cheeks. He turned the chopper around, heading back toward the fortress one last time, not to retreat, but to wipe out what was left. Was justice worth it when he'd lost everything? Or was he just another puppet of the CIA? The very system that had killed his sister and sent Reed Voss down a hellish path of revenge. His mind reeled. But rage spurred him on. The Syndicate had to die, even if it cost him his soul. He landed the helicopter 2 kilometers from the fortress, in the middle of a desolate snowfield where the wind whipped like a leather lash and blowing snow obscured any trace of the earlier explosion. Logan, dressed in a white camouflage parka, put on night vision goggles and snow skis, and plunged into the storm alone. The skis cut through the soft snow like a knife through flesh. His breath, a white cloud before him. The bone-chilling cold made the bandaged wound on his shoulder ooze warm blood. The fortress emerged like the corpse of a monster. Its main underground gate collapsed on one side from the blast. Black smoke billowing and mixing with the falling snow to create a deadly fog. Logan slipped through a side entrance, a crack created by the missile Caleb fired before he died. The corridor inside was pitch black, with faint, flickering red lights illuminating blood-stained metal walls and debris. The acrid smell of burning and gunpowder hung thick in the air. Russian whispers echoed from the lower levels, the remnants of the Syndicate. 5 elite soldiers were activating the real Shadow Core in the final vault. He moved like a ghost, dagger ready, his heart pounding. The memory of Ava whispering her prayer before she died flashed in his mind. The Lord teaches that, in solitude, strength comes from faith in the light. Suddenly, 2 guards appeared from around a corner, their AK rifles aimed right through the smoke and flames. The first one growled, throwing a heavy Russian sambo punch through the frigid air. Logan dodged with a fluid Krav Maga movement, countering with a straight punch to the throat that made the man choke on his own blood. A low silat sweep kick took out his legs. He fell face first onto the icy floor, sending snow that had drifted into the corridor flying. The second guard swung a wushu knife, its blade glinting under the red lights. Logan used a judo pivot to grab his wrist and snap it backward with a dry crack, then spun into a blade-like capoeira heel kick that sent the man flying into a metal wall, denting it deeply. Red blood stained the white floor. The moves were swift, silent. Logan pressed deeper, dodging the flames licking out from the old explosion. The deep-level corridor trembled slightly. The hum of servers grew louder, like the heartbeat of a waking monster. The final code vault, where the Syndicate hid the real Shadow Core. It was a larger, black, glossy device, its screen flashing the backup code, 3 minutes to global activation. The remnants were waiting 3 elite soldiers and their final leader, Victor Kane, a distant relative of Victor's. He was a mountain of muscle from his Russian training days, his eyes glowing red under night vision goggles. "Pierce? You came alone?" Victor laughed savagely and triggered a trap. The floor began to shake, and poison gas hissed from the vents, the acrid smell of chemicals stinging Logan's nostrils. Logan charged. The nearest man attacked with a series of high kickboxing kicks through the gas cloud. He dodged, using a short Jeet Kune Do punch to the wrist that made the man drop his gun, then landed a Taekwondo roundhouse kick to his chest. The soldier collapsed, the gas swirling around his body. The second man swung an electric harness stick, blue electricity arcing from it in the dark corridor. Logan blocked with a series of Wing Chun moves, his forearms a solid defense, then drove a sharp Muay Thai elbow into the man's chin, dropping him. The gas was making his eyes burn. Victor rushed forward, using fluid Russian systema, his powerful punches trying to force Logan down onto the shaking floor. Logan reacted with an Aikido wrist lock, but Victor broke free and landed a gut-wrenching punch. The memory of Caleb falling from the cliff flashed in his mind, and his rage exploded. A fierce mixed martial arts battle erupted in the code vault, the hum of the servers drowned out by thunderous impacts. Victor unleashed a rain of kung fu punches through the blinding gas. Logan dodged, wrapped him up in a Brazilian jiu-jitsu chokehold in a split second, then landed a pencak silat roundhouse kick to the shoulder that made him stagger. "The Syndicate, what are you hiding about the CIA?" Logan roared, driving a short boxing jab into his ribs. Victor just chuckled darkly and countered with a sharp savate straight kick. "The system killed Reed's sister. And yours." The CIA ordered the 2018 Siberia hack. Victor covered it up to get a promotion. You're just a pawn. The revelation cut deeper than any knife, the hidden truth. Logan's sister hadn't died in an accident. It was a CIA order. Tragedy washed over him, and Logan hesitated for a second. But Victor pulled a handgun and opened fire. He dodged the bullets, which slammed into a server, causing it to explode in a shower of blue flames. He lunged, slashing Victor's wrist with his twin Kali knives. The gun clattered to the floor. Victor snarled one last time and threw a taekwondo roundhouse kick. Logan ducked under it, using a combination of boxing punches and a low silet kick to knock him flat on his back in a pool of blood-streaked gas. "It's over," Logan whispered, crushing the shadow core under his heel. The screen shattered. The backup code went dark, and the conspiracy collapsed for good. But Victor laughed weakly. "The Syndicate is bigger. Washington has eyes and ears." Logan choked him unconscious and tied him up. He didn't kill him. Because of Ava's words, justice isn't about blood. The explosions from the final trap spread, the fortress shaking like a hell awakening. Flames licked down the red-hot steel corridors, and black smoke billowed, mixing with the snow drifting inside. Logan ran for the side exit, dodging flying debris, the fierce blizzard winds shoving him, making him stumble. The helicopter was waiting. He took off alone, the fortress exploding behind him, illuminating the white snow like deadly fireworks. Metal fragments raining down into the deep chasm, flying through the frigid Siberian night. Logan checked the final data from the USB. The CIA had covered up the 2018 hack. His sister had died because of Victor's orders, not in an accident. Rage mixed with tragedy. The system he had once served was the real enemy. "Can I ever forgive them?" he whispered, tears freezing on his cheeks as he remembered Ava. The Lord teaches forgiveness to find peace. But could peace ever truly exist for a ghost like him? The helicopter landed at grey dawn on the outskirts of New York. Fog clung to the runway like a shroud hiding sin, carrying the smell of drizzle and exhaust from the waking city. Logan stepped out, the biting winter wind whipping his face, seeping through his worn leather jacket, which was still damp with melted snow. He handed Victor over to the anonymous CIA contact. No goodbyes, just a cold stare. The truth about 2018. No more cover-ups. They nodded. But Logan knew. The Syndicate had eyes and ears in Washington. A threat bigger than Reed. He plunged into the Manhattan crowds under the heavy rain, melting into the bustling throngs on Fifth Avenue, his coat concealing his dagger, a Glock hidden at his waist. His face anonymous in a sea of people. Wall Street glittered in the distance, the stock market humming along after the near catastrophe. But Logan knew. The Syndicate's shadows ran deeper, from Russia to America, and he was the only phantom of underground justice left. He stood on the Brooklyn Bridge, the stinging rain lashing his face. As he stared down at the dark, churning waters of the East River reflecting the glittering neon lights. The city never slept. The roar of engines and the blare of horns mingled with the drumming of the rain, but inside Logan, the void left by Caleb, Ava, and Dylan was an abyss. Forgive the system that destroyed my life? Or keep hunting? He asked himself, his knuckles turning white as he gripped his dagger. The harsh reality washed over him. He could save the world today. But tomorrow, the Syndicate would return bigger, more brutal than before. A cold smile touched Logan's lips under the pale yellow glow of a street lamp. And then he vanished into a dark Brooklyn alley, his silhouette melting into the falling rain. No goodbyes. No glory, just a ghost, ready for the new threat emerging from an even greater darkness. The world would keep spinning, but Logan Pierce, the lone operative, would hunt forever for his sister, for Ava, for the unseen justice that never sleeps.